Hey there, good evening. Nice to see you. Welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and writers and editors and journalists, all different people who put stuff out that you need to know about. And they kind of give us the inside word on some of the things that they're doing. And then in our second segment, we got something real special by one of the Bronx's legendary organizations. And they're having a big event that we want to help them promote because they're so good to the rest of us all through the year. Nonetheless, let's get started. It is my buddy Jonathan Custodio, who is the Bronx reporter for the City. Nice to see you again, Jonathan.
Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me.
So you wrote a story about something I had heard about and was a little bit distressed about. You know, my feelings about our community centers. The Madison Boys and Girls Club on Hoe Avenue is planning to shut down. It has served as a safe haven for generations of South Bronx residents and set the stage for the birth of hip hop, et cetera, et cetera. What the heck are the last thing we need in the Bronx is closing down community centers. What the heck is going on over there?
Yeah, like you said, people are very distraught about potential closure of community center. Well, so it started, because the Madison Boys and Girls Club has multiple clubhouses around the city. One of them we're talking about is the Jolie Smiley Clubhouse, which is located just a few blocks away from Crotona Park. And the Boys and Girls Club agreed to pay about $22 million to a trust covering 149 people who sued under the New York Child Victims Act, alleging they'd been abused by a pediatric endocrinologist who volunteered there from the 50s through the 1980s.
But
And
not at that clubhouse.
right, not at that particular
Yeah,
clubhouse.
so he did this and they got sued. And listen, the Justice Department does what it does. So yes, keep going.
Right. Important to note, not at this clubhouse. And so that has essentially crippled the Madison Boys and Girls Club financially to the point where that was what they did. They reached a bankruptcy settlement last year. And since then, they've been targeting several clubhouses. One of them is the one in the Bronx, near Crotona Park, like I mentioned, which is now slated to be shut down in August. And they say they're trying to find a way to continue services at other locations. They're still investigating that. They haven't updated people anything about it, but this is a place that has been a safe haven for people for about 6 decades. It's really been somewhere where youth, teenagers, young kids can go after school to, as I was told, stay out of trouble, and they get involved in a lot of activities,
Of course.
homework.
Yeah,
You know,
I got a list here. They do dance and music. They have a rec room with pool tables, a computer room. I mean, this is what we need. You can't be complaining about teens doing the wrong thing if you're not giving them an opportunity to do the right thing. Right?
and that's what a lot of folks were telling me. Bronx elected officials were pretty pissed off, or rather deeply concerned, as they said, that they weren't really engaged about it sooner and at the potential shutdown. And one thing that's interesting to note is there is a city stipulation that the property can only be used as a community center up until June 2030. So if someone else were to pick up the tab here, they
They
wouldn't
would
be able to
still
use it
have to have
anymore.
a community center, but for 5 years, I mean, we like to think the future of the Bronx is a little longer than that. But what I just don't understand, and the needs of the community around that part of the Bronx and many parts of the Bronx are extraordinary. And one of the solutions to it is community centers. Do we know why they selected this one? Well, look, I'm not want any community center to be taken apart, but why not one on the Upper East Side? That's just I didn't say it out loud, but to close a community center that's active, that with a 60-year legacy in the Bronx, I'm trying to figure this sense out. I just don't get it. I mean, is it prejudice like I don't know. I'm just very upset about it. That's it.
No, no, you're asking the same questions that a lot of people who frequented and have been there and have worked there before are asking. Why this clubhouse? I asked the Madison Boys and Girls Club, and they didn't give a specific reason. They have not outlined a reason quite yet. Um, but yeah, it's definitely riled up a few folks. And, like you said, this is a historic place. It's a place that held the whole Avenue Peace Treaty, which, right in the clubhouse, it was a
That's
safe
right.
haven. Um, Early
A
1970s.
solution to gangs, right? I mean, that's what all that is about.
Right, right. There are a lot of gang members who, changed their lives
Yeah.
spending time in the boys' club, or even when they were in gangs. That was a place where, one of the few places at that time, where members of rival gangs could be near
Get
each other.
together and solve their problems in a more productive way than the other ways than that gang problems get solved. I just don't understand it. And I have to tell you, I have a friend, a close friend, who grew up in that neighborhood and said, they saved my life. I mean, I don't know, have any other way to say it. And here they are, they're going to close. And so what's next? I guess legal action of some sort. I don't really know. Is that clear at this particular point?
It's not clear right now. They have, it's been put up for sale. It's listed on the market. So from there on, we're gonna see if there are any potential buyers who are interested in what potential plans that they may have for it. There is still time in the city council budgeting process, and the city council does have money earmarked to purchase property. So
Then they
there's
then they would purchase a G. But again, to purchase the property, but still to put programs in. I mean, I know many of the leaders of community centers in our borough, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's just I really like, what can I tell you? So thank you for reporting it, because it's obviously very, very important. Can we do something a little lighter, a little a little less difficult for people of the Bronx? For many years, and I've been in that neighborhood plenty. Is I would walk from Kingsbridge Road down to Burnside Avenue along a place called the old Croton Aqueduct, and apparently underneath was or is an aqueduct, and I'd always known about it. You did a story that said the old Croton Aqueduct becomes the first ever scenic landmark in the Bronx. Now, I just, and this is pictures there of the people who made the announcement, but I didn't understand landmarks in the Bronx. I mean, we've got them all over the place. What is the difference between a scenic landmark and the normal historic landmarking that, I mean, let's see, in the Bronx Opera House recently, Engine Company 88, um, Ladder Company 38 Firehouse, the Tremont Library branch, Samuel Gompers High School, and many, many other places have been landmarks, but this is the first scenic landmark.
Mhm.
I don't get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So there aren't many. New York City has only 12 scenic landmarks, and
So it's a
you
different type of landmark.
it's a different type of landmark. And so if it's to be chosen as a scenic landmark, the location has to be at least 30 years old. And according to the Landmarks Preservation Commission, have a special character or special historical or aesthetic interest or value that ties into development, heritage, cultural characteristics. And so, the Croton Aqueduct was the first direct water source, for New York City. It flowed from reservoirs in Croton, New York, um, you know, on many miles towards New York City. And, it's kind of crazy to think that today people kind of just walk along this and,
And don't
um,
realize that it's a spot of history. As I said, I was aware of it. I mean, maybe because of what I do for a living, but now it's actually got that designation. Does this mean that there's going to be some protection for it, so that the development or other issues can't change it? I mean, do we know that?
yeah, it's sort of anytime an area or a site is landmarked, it is something that must be taken into consideration if there's any construction or any development that is planned for that area. So in a sense, but it's also, a point of pride, and also sort of something to teach history to people in the neighborhood who might not know about, kind of just the wonderful
Yeah.
history that they're sitting on.
Of course, there are many scenic places in the Bronx. I mean, stand on the High Bridge and take a look. I'm a big fan, as you might know, of Van Cortlandt Park. I mean, and I walk around that parade grounds, and what could be more scenic than that? You can look at the at the scenery from the virtual background that I'm using here, which is just all off Avenue, and it's just beautiful. It's nice to know. Now, let's see. I saw, and I think I picked this up from your article. Morningside Park in Harlem and the Coney Island Boardwalk in Brooklyn were the only other sites named scenic landmarks in the last quarter century, in the last 25 years. So I wonder, are they going to do more? Do you have a sense of any of that, or is this all we got?
Landmarks Preservation Commission definitely said that they're targeting more landmarks, particularly in the Bronx, and it's part of an equity framework initiative they've had since 2021 to identify more landmarks in the outer boroughs. A lot of the landmarks are, reside in Manhattan, and the LPC has made a targeted effort to highlight and identify ones in places like the Bronx. So they said this is, not the end, and they're definitely
Well, that's
expecting more
good.
to come.
That's good. And, I hope maybe there's a couple of dollars also to fix up some of that parkland that's on that strip as well. Make it a little more attractive and inviting for people. One other thing that I picked up in your article, and I had no idea, there's a place, and didn't know that it existed. There's a place called Roscoe Brown Plaza.
Hmm.
I had no idea. Of course, Roscoe, a legendary president of Bronx Community College. Many people don't know he was involved in the founding of BronxNet Television. So that was
I didn't
so
know
when I saw that, I was like, oh, I appreciate that spot. Anyway, so folks in the Bronx, take a look, take a walk down the old Croton Aqueduct, and enjoy yourself, and realize that you're in a place of history, which we all know about because of our buddy Jonathan Custodio, who's with the city, and we read him all the time. And keep us posted on the Madison Boys and Girls Club too, because you tell them Gary is not happy. I'm
that.
not happy. Anyway, but I am happy about you and having you as a buddy and having you as a contributor to the Bronx Buzz. Very important for the people of the Bronx. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And on Roscoe Brown, one more thing, he was a former Tuskegee Airman.
Oh yes, of
Pretty cool
course.
too.
I was being selfish thinking about the BX, but of course, yes, he was a legendary figure even before he, founded BronxNet and became the president of Bronx Community College. Anyway, thank you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll take a short break, and then we're going to go to the St. Anne's Corner of Harm Reduction for a special event. Don't go away.